Greg LeMond, for the first time in this race, cracked, and to end a forgettable 13th stage for him, he was knocked off his bike by a team car. Is the king set to abdicate? If so, then the new king is Spain's Miguel Indurain, the new leader of the Tour de France. Hello and welcome to the other side of the Pyrenees, the Tour de France now at Saint-Gaudens, and I can tell you the atmosphere in the village at the start this morning a very happy one. The riders now probably going to spend the day trying to ride out the pain in their legs caused by those 5 mountain passes yesterday. As expected, it caused havoc with the overall classification, and you know, Jean-Marie Leblanc, the technical advisor on this Tour de France, told me yesterday that was the finest stage in the Tour he had ever seen in his life. This is what it did to the overall classification. Miguel Indurain is now the leader of the Tour de France with a 3-minute buffer on Charles Motte of France. One of these top 6 names surely will now win the Tour de France when it ends in Paris a week tomorrow. Well, this is the first time that Miguel Indurain has ever been in yellow in the Tour de France, and you know there have now been 8 leaders of this Tour and none have been able to keep that leader's yellow jersey for long. Miguel Indurain, can he take the pressure that the yellow jersey will now bring? Here's Paul Schoen to assess the chances now of the other 5 riders right behind him.
In second place, Charles Motte has proved unable to stay with the others in the mountains. He must look for a breakaway to surprise Indurain on the flat stages. Gianni Bugno, although 3 minutes behind Indurain, looks the most dangerous. I'm sure he will wait for the Alps to try and attack Indurain. Claudio Chiappucci has proved he's dangerous on all terrains. I think he will take any opportunity to try and surprise the leader. Greg LeMond must recover physically and mentally, but he's a clever rider and we can't write off his challenge to the leader. Laurent Fignon is showing his best climbing form for years. After yesterday's courageous performance, he must be nurturing hopes of a big attack on the day to Morzine. Indurain may be the leader, but these men will push him all the way to Paris.
And so in the town of Saint-Gaudens, the field rolled away, facing today 172 kilometres, and in the yellow jersey for the very first time in his career is Miguel Indurain of Spain. A pleasant day indeed, and threatening to be the hottest of the Tour so far. It's a ride of 172.5 kilometres, taking the riders through the Haute-Garonne and into the department of the Tarn. It's the most beautiful part of France now, as the riders go over only one small climb today on the road to Castres. And that small climb today was the Côte des Santes. It came after 76 kilometres, hardly a hill at all, but it developed into a nice battle between the 2 men at the top of the King of the Mountains. Claudio Chiappucci outsprinting Andy Hampsten, with Hampsten's teammate Dag Otto Lauritsen in 3rd place. And Lauritsen used that sprint to springboard to an attack, and by the time the riders reached the 115 kilometres covered point, there were 22 of them in the lead, and the breakaway was very much underway. And this is the breakaway, and they now lead by 3 minutes and 10 seconds, 22 riders, and the one rider in this breakaway, which I'm very, very surprised to see here, is Jean-Francois Bernard. He started the day today in 9th place, 8 minutes and 39 seconds behind. And now with the leader 3 minutes 10, and the other rider in the group, Paul, is the yellow jersey of 2 days ago, Luc Leblanc.
Well, that is an interesting move. It just goes to show that this race is going to be a very tactical race between now and the mountains, because leaving those 2 riders away, it puts everybody else under pressure. It puts Bugno and Chiappucci's team under pressure, but also it helps the Banestos a little bit because they can try and play the Jean-Francois Bernard card.
Well, this might well be the plan for Indurain today, to put away his teammate Jean-Francois Bernard, but it just shows you this Tour de France really hasn't got a solid leader, in my opinion. Everybody, every day, is trying to attack the maillot jaune of the Tour de France, and that is what is making this such a great race. There's an abundance of Motorola riders in this breakaway today, including Dag Otto Lauritsen and Urs Zimmermann, and also the sprinter Abdu Japarov He's now back in his element after coming through the mountains and just about getting through the mountains, but he was in the sprint today. He picked up the first sprint of the day, so he's now back into building his lead once more in that green jersey competition as the best sprinter. They've given them quite a lead, 3 minutes 10 seconds. We're looking down at the main field here, a predominance of pink top jerseys, which mean that the Lotto riders have missed out on the split, and they now want to try and get their sprinter, Johan Museo, back into contention. It is a marvellous finish for the sprinters today. Long, long, long straight roads down beautiful avenues of trees as they come through the Midi. It's very, very hot indeed, and I think we would have been excused, Paul, if we'd have thought the riders today would have just ridden along and enjoyed the sun.
Well, with the heat and after yesterday's stage, it would have been obvious to have an easy day. But these riders, they've got 3 days before we go back into the mountains again, and all those riders in the front, they want to take every advantage of trying to win a stage in the Tour de France.
So Jean-Francois Bernard of the Benesto team, seemingly back to his old form of a couple of years ago, since he moved across to the Spanish team this year, has now got himself into the breakaway along with Luc Leblanc. But Charlie Motte, lying second overall, actually said this Tour de France wasn't over yet after yesterday, and it looks as though he might be right. Here's where we are, San Felix, and we're on our way down to Castres. Just look at the beautiful scenery here. We met today a lot of English holidaymakers enjoying the hot sun down in the Midi. And Indurain and Greg LeMond back in the main peloton. And Greg LeMond, I would think, having to now reconstruct himself after that terrible bashing he took yesterday in the mountain, and have to think carefully now about how, if indeed he can, come back into this race in a big way as we go on towards the Alps. And just to tell Mrs. Black, one of our callers to the programme these last couple of days, and who we understand is a cousin of Phil Anderson. Yes, we have passed your good wishes on to him in the Tour de France, and Phil, as you know, is having a great tour this year. This breakaway really has surprised the field to allow so many riders away, 22 of them in the lead. I'm rather surprised the big field have let so many go.
Well, it was a shock, but they didn't all go at once. We had the initial breakaway of Lauritsen, chased by a group of 27, who then got caught by the bunch. And as that happened, then 9 riders went clear, and then the rest of this group then came up to join them. So it didn't all happen instantaneously, but it is dangerous to let such a big group go away and have so many teams represented as well, because the question now is who's going to do the chasing behind. And it would seem that the Lotto team is the only people who've missed out. And here, with Abdjazaparov in the green jersey in the breakaway, Museo is going to have to get his teammates to chase.
And the rider to the right there is Stephen Hodge of Australia, just taking some food out of his pocket. He's made the split as well today and didn't enjoy his trip through the Pyrenees, but they recover so quickly, these riders. Hodge now in with a chance of victory today. Jean-Claude Colotti, the sprinter, if it came down to the sprint, would give a lot of these riders a good run for their money. He was second in Paris-Roubaix. As the race now moves on nicely, leaving San Felix, Lorega, and there is the big field rolling into town. And it looks as though the Lotto boys are the ones that have missed out in this move. They haven't got a man up here. A lot of the Italians have. We've got Dmitry Konishev just moving forward in our picture there. The head now, Hodge leads. Konishev goes over the top of him. And the big lanky figure there is Edwig van Hooijdonk, the winner of the Tour of Flanders this year. And the Buckler team have had a quiet tour so far. They've won only one stage. That was a victory by Jelle Nijdam on the road into Valenciennes. But this group working extremely quickly now. And Laurent Jalabert too. It's going to be a very hard chase indeed now for the main field to put matters right as we head down towards the finish in Castres. But we'll take a break.
The Tour's left the Pyrenees now, but the riders still have the Alps to cope with. And on long mountain stages, the combination of high temperatures and steep gradients can cause them serious problems with overheating and dehydration. The cure, though, can be as dangerous as the condition, because although they take in up to 8 litres of fluid on a long mountain stage to replenish what their bodies have lost, there are always well-meaning fans on hand to offer a bit more. The ritual offering of the water has become a mountain stage tradition. Fans go to great lengths to give, and thirsty riders are often grateful to receive. The problem, as any tourist of France or otherwise will tell you, is that sampling the local water is a sure way to get a stomach bug, and the drink that keeps a rider going today could eliminate him tomorrow. But at least that's his own mistake. A bigger problem are the fans who soak riders with water in the misguided belief that it's doing them good. In fact, the opposite can be the case. Believe it or not, one of the biggest dangers facing riders on a long hot mountain stage is catching a cold. And the reason is that while they may be suffering in temperatures up into the 90s on the way up, as soon as they get over the top of the climb and start to descend, the wind chill factor can take the temperatures quickly down into the 50s or even lower. And in the high-tech world of modern cycling, what they use for protection is this, the best insulation that 4 francs 90 centimes can buy. And if you see fans handing newspapers to the cyclists at the top of mountain stages, it's not because they want to check their place in the general classification. Of course, even the L'Equipe Sunday edition with colour supplement up your jersey is no good if you're soaking wet. The reaction of riders yesterday made it clear that water throwing is a tradition they'd rather see die out, a viewpoint shared by the more responsible fans.
I think you should leave the riders alone, let them get up there themselves. Well, they've got all the water they need. If they want to douse themselves in water, they can do it.
There are always, of course, people who douse you whether you like it or not, and, you know, it drives you nuts.
The water throws will no doubt be out in force when the race hits the Alps, but on today's comparatively gentle stage, the riders should be safe from unexpected showers. For the latest on today's stage, back to Phil.
Well, thank you, Gary. And talking of showers, well, there's not a cloud in the sky today, and it's the hottest day of the Tour. This is the man now who's blazing the trail. Well, he's just gone off our picture, but that was Cenghialta of Italy, 2 minutes 40 seconds now. Basically the same leading group, but this rider has gone out on his own, and we are now, for him at least, about 8 kilometres from the line down in Castres. He's being chased at the last check by Marco Giovanetti of Italy, the Tour of Spain winner last year, and Jean-Claude Colotti, the sprinter. And I suspect that Colotti now feels, Paul, that maybe Cenghialta is going to stay away.
Well, that's why he's jumped away from this group, because there was no organised chase in the back there. So Colotti has jumped clear with Giovanetti. They've got about 40 seconds to make up on him. With 8 kilometres to go, that's still possible, because these two riders are riding extremely well, and Cenghialta has been away for some 15 kilometres now.
Approximately a minute's advantage for the Italian over the rest of the original breakaway of 22 riders. The main field are chasing very hard, but they still remain over 2 minutes back, which means that Jean-Francois Bernard and Luc Leblanc are pulling back a minute of their deficit and could be going up the overall classification tonight.
Well, they'll definitely move up a little closer as well if they don't get caught, because the field is now starting to speed up a little bit, with the Banesto team actually now speeding up the field at the back there, with a little bit of help from the Carrera team too.
But this is the man. He broke away approximately 25 kilometres from the finish. He sensed that the breakaway was not pulling its weight, and he jumped away on his own. Everybody hesitated. In fact, Abdou Japarov chased him for a little while, but he was picked up. And now Cenghialta has built a minute over the main chase group, and approximately 40 seconds over these two riders here. Jean-Claude Colotti on the right, and he was second this year in the Paris-Roubaix stage race, Paris-Roubaix Classic rather, breaking away to chase Marc Madio all the way home to the finish in Roubaix. He's normally a sprinter, but he's one of those sprinters, Paul, that is never afraid to have a go on his own either.
He's a very brave rider. He's not one of those riders who thinks, I'm a sprinter, I can win a race if the field stays together. He'll always have a go and try and get to the finish in a small group, because it's always easier if you're a sprinter, and it's always safer to try and do that. That level crossing they went through there gives us 6 kilometres to go for these two riders, and you can almost see there the fairing at the top of Colotti's bicycle, just underneath the seat tube there. You can see that that's, I think there's an attachment to the frame to try and cut down on the wind resistance. Here we are with Bruno Cenghialta at the front here. He's got 5 kilometres to go now, so he's almost 600 or 700 metres in front of those two chasing riders.
This race, in fact, coming down to the finish some 8 to 10 minutes ahead of the expected time today, so despite the climbs of the Pyrenees, Paul, the riders have been quite willing to carry on this race.
All those riders that lost time yesterday will just do this for the next 2 days as well, because there are another couple of flat stages before we start up into the big mountains again. All those riders who finished half an hour behind yesterday, they'll think of trying to steal a stage victory, because that gains so much publicity for yourself and for your team that there's no way that the riders will let anything like that pass nowadays.
And don't forget our competition tomorrow. I hope that all your postcards are now arriving at the office at Channel 4 at Portel. because guess the winner tomorrow, and we have the prize of the yellow jersey and also the signing on sheet from one of the stages of the race given to us by the organisation, which means that the winner will also receive the signature of every rider in the Tour de France. A nice shot of Colotti's new style bicycle frame there. 4 kilometres to go now for the leader, Cenghialta, and 5 kilometres to go. This is the chance to look back and out the group that Cenghialta has left. No, we've gone back to the yellow jersey group here, Paul. So there's only, in fact, a kilometre now between them, and this group is closing in fast. And the Carrera boys are now starting to fire, which means they must have swept up Abdou Japarov in the group. Although I must confess, we didn't know if they have done that, but they wouldn't be chasing like this if Abdou Japarov was still up the road, because they would want their sprinter to stay out in front. There's the 4 kilometres to go now for the 2 chasers, and the peloton have clearly wiped out the rest of the 22 breakaways. We had no news of that happening at all. And here's the information and confirmed. 1 minute 5 to the group Leblanc. So that's the group that contains Abdou Japarov. 41 seconds to Colotti and Giovanetti, who was in our picture just then, and 2:20 to the peloton. So the gap is still there. Back to the main field, which mystifies me a little bit as to why Carrera are chasing so hard.
They obviously don't want Jean-Francois Bernard and Luc Leblanc to gain any time back, because when we go to the mountains, they feel that Chiappucci can maybe be the man to surprise everybody, because he will attack every time there's a possibility, and they may have a lot of confidence in him being the man capable of winning the Tour de France. So in that case, they would sacrifice a stage victory by Abdou Japarov to try and help Chiappucci.
Okay, Chiappucci 4th overall in the Tour de France. He said yesterday, after he won the stage so brilliantly in the Pyrenees, that he felt he'd lost too much time in the time trial to Alençon the other week, and he felt that he probably couldn't win the Tour de France. His favourite was now Miguel Indurain to win.
Bruno Cenghialta here, always checking over his shoulder with 2 kilometres to go to see if he can see those riders closing in on him, but he's going extremely well. He doesn't seem to be weakening at all. He's got to stay clear just through these streets. I think he may well be the man who's going to take the stage today, although those 2 riders behind are putting in a very good chase. Here he gets out of the saddle on a small drag through the town, accelerating, pushing himself to the limit all the time. He knows he's just got to hang on for another kilometre, another couple of minutes, and the stage victory in the Tour de France could be his.
His first one, too. He finished 102nd in the Tour de France last year. And so an Italian victory on the cards inside the last kilometre, but they're all hunting him down. These 2 are chasing very, very fast onto him. I don't think they're going to catch him because they're getting so close to finish now. Colotti getting a little bit restless, but they might hold off the main chase group to the line, and the peloton closing in all of the time as well. This beautiful town in the middle of the Tarn, and the whole town shut down for the arrival on a Saturday afternoon of the Tour de France. Marco Giovanetti tried to go, and that looks like Steve Hodge is starting to move at the front of the chase group. And looking over his shoulder there for more help from the rest of the group. And the other rider there is, I think it's Jean-Francois, no, it's one of the Castorama riders, Paul.
It's Luc Leblanc. He's been followed by David Cassani there, he won't do any work at all. As we've got back at the front here, Bruno Cenghialta's got a kilometre to go. That's about 1 minute, 20 seconds of agony, and I think he's got this stage in his pocket.
Well, he certainly deserved it. He's gone the hard way about it, breaking away, 25 kilometres to go. He gambled well. He's never faltered at all. He's clearly an extremely good rider alone. He's always looked strong. And he knows now they're not going to catch him. Under the kilometre kite for the 2 chasers, Giovanetti and Jean-Claude Colotti. That should be a good sprint, but it should go to Colotti. As we go back to our finish line camera now to see the arrival here in Castres. The winner today, an Italian. He won't affect Miguel Indurain's new lead in this year's Tour de France. But it has been a very hard day's racing nonetheless. The riders seem to be intent on racing each other all the way to the Alps now, with the Pyrenees behind them. Cenghialta comes home today. Bruno Cenghialta will shortly give us the 2-handed salute as winner of the stage. It's a long way up the home straight, and it's slightly uphill. Just to check to make sure before the salute, I think. And there it is, 4 1/4 hours today, almost half of what it was yesterday, but the prize is the same, £5,000 to the winner. and the sprint for second place. And it looks as though it is going to be a formality for the little French sprinter. The French are having a great Tour de France, aren't they? As Jean-Claude Colossi takes second place and Gio Bonetti makes sure he's got third. And 19 seconds the time gap, and now the big sprint for fourth place coming to the field, and little Abdou Chaparov should be popping his nose out shortly as the riders line up for the... Oh, we've got a bit further up the road. This is Stephen Hodge of Australia going for the line now, and Andreas Kappas is taking it on the line. Kappas takes it on the line, and the punching of the air there from the teammate of Cenghialta to say we got the stage win. And the sprint now for the lesser placings as Abdou Chaparov winds up his big legs as usual, throws his bike everywhere but in a straight line, and then makes his own little trail through the peloton and takes it with ease. Pips Laurent Jalabert on the line there. And the clock counting down, because it's interesting to note this, but the peloton coming in very closely indeed in the end, and the Carreras making sure they bring them home, because they don't want the gap to open too much. They line up for the finish. It's a difficult sprint to read, this one. It's gently uphill from this point on. A minute 22 has gone past since Cenghialta has come over the sprint. Laurent Fignon, he really has found his second wind as Laurent Fignon, after that marvellous day yesterday. He's now taking the sprinters on here. He's not going to get it on the line. It looks like Francis Moreau takes them over the line there. But Fignon comes up in the sprint, and that's the sign of a man who has the confidence now to become a real challenger in this Tour de France. So, an Italian victory today in Castres, and the Austria boys are on top tonight. Bruno Cenghialta, the winner.
And the Italians showing well in the stage result, because behind Cenghialta was Marco Giovanetti in third place and David Cassani in fifth. Fourth was Andreas Kappas, and in sixth place the Australian Stephen Hodge. The yellow jersey, the first day in yellow indeed for Miguel Indurain, and he was not put under pressure at all today. The pressure came off the minute Jean-Francois Bernard, his teammate, was in the breakaway, and everybody else had to chase him. Miguel Indurain just enjoyed the scenery. Overall, no change at all. Charlie Motte is still 3 minutes behind, and Greg LeMond is still 5 minutes and 8 seconds behind in fifth place. Well, one man we had hoped to see in action in the Pyrenees was Robert Miller. Paul Sherwin spoke to him after the end of the stage today.
Robert, we expected to see a lot of you in the Pyrenees, but are you still suffering from the crash you had in the early part of the Tour?
No, not really. I was just very tired the last 2 days. I never recovered from the first week.
The team's had to do a lot of work to support Greg in the first couple of weeks. Do you think that's what's been the problem?
Yeah, probably. It's a bit hard to try and control the race for 15 days, and then we come to the hills and we can control the race again. With the team we've got, it's like it was impossible, so we weren't surprised when everybody fell apart.
But on top of that, it's been an extremely fast start to the Tour this year.
Yeah, it's been one of the... Since the terrain's not so difficult, it's been really fast, so it's been difficult, and the heat doesn't help a lot.
How does Greg feel after that big defeat yesterday, losing so much time? Is he destroyed mentally, but do you think he can come back?
Yeah, Greg was disappointed. Everybody was disappointed, but like Greg says, that's his bad day over. Now it's the rest of the favourites are going to have their bad day.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind there's still plenty of racing left in this year's Tour de France, and Miguel Indurain is far from safe yet. Tomorrow, our special time of 5:30 for our 1-hour programme, because it's Sunday. I hope you all entered the competition, and we'll find out who wins the stage tomorrow night. Remember all of the results on page 465 on Foretell. But for the moment, from Paul, Gary and me, it's goodbye from the beautiful town of Castres.